Hello and welcome to the daily newspaper analysis. Today we shall be discussing the newspaper of the 19th of March. So coming to the first article, dangerous spiral. Now the context here is with regards to the harassment of diplomats by both India and Pakistan. Now what you should know here in the background is that India was setting up a new embassy in Pakistan, but the diplomats there have complained that the laborers who are working on the embassy have been harassed by the Pakistan officials. Similar complaints are what are being made by Pakistan diplomats who are posted in India, where they are saying that they are being subject to excessive intelligence. Also, they are being subject to some other degrees of harassment where facilities like water connection and electricity connection is something that is being taken away. So this is a newer development with regards to India-Pakistan relation, and indeed this is an important one. Now coming to the issues which are important, the first issue is of targeting of personnel. Now what you need to understand that when such kind of targeting of diplomatic personnel is something that is going to happen in both the countries, then this is going to be the beginning of a new low in relationship. Already India-Pakistan relationship are at the lowest, and if such kind of episodes come, then further death knell is something that is going to be spelled on the relationship between India and Pakistan. So what is needed is that this further lowering of relation is something that is controlled. So that is the first analysis. Another thing which is important is that if both countries are adhering to such kind of behavior, then this is a breach of some international convention. For example, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961 and the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations of 1963. Both these conventions talk about, or these clearly state, that diplomatic person, premises or property are inviolable and they must be respected and protected by the respective countries. So this is something that both India and Pakistan are now violating. So that is one important analysis. Another thing which is very important is that it is known for very long that the intelligence agencies both in India as well as in Pakistan maintain a degree of surveillance on the embassies of India and Pakistan in the respective countries. But what is happening now is that these intelligence agencies are being given excessive powers, and this is something that is not healthy for any particular country, because the rise of any particular institution at the cost of another institution is somehow always something that is antithetical to the idea of democracy. So this is one criticism which has been raised, that such kind of surplus powers to intelligence agencies within India is something that is unacceptable. So that is one important analysis here. Another issue is with regards to the catalytic impact that this kind of behavior can have. This can further progress into a stronger measures which might include completely sending back of diplomats, or for that matter complete shutdown of missions. And if this happens, then the bare minimum degree of negotiation which does exist between India and Pakistan, the last channel of negotiation which is existing between India and Pakistan, is also going to be shut down, and this is something that is going to have adverse impact on India, Pakistan and the entire South Asian region. So that is something that has been analyzed, that such kind of irresponsible behavior should not be done, because this is going to have catalytic impact. So that is something that is important. Another thing which you need to understand is with regards to the soft power. Now, embassies and diplomats act as a channel of soft power. If this is somehow controlled or curbed, then the soft power element is further going to worsen. Also, you should know that in the backdrop of the Peshawar attack on a military school, in the backdrop of that, India had made Pakistan a non-family post for diplomats, which means that if a diplomat is going to be posted in Pakistan, he shall not be taking his family along. Now, it is being expected that Pakistan also is going to label India as a non-family post for its diplomats. So, if families of diplomats are not coming to India, then this soft power really takes a seat back. So, that is one important analysis, that soft power element between India and Pakistan relation is at its lowest even more. So that is something that is important. Another thing which is very important here is the stalled bilateral dialogue. You all know that India is following a policy of isolationism against Pakistan, and the dialogue between India and Pakistan has been stalled for a very long time. Also, we are continuously seeing ceasefire violations at the border. So this is one cause of concern. There is also much more disturbance in Kashmir. So in the backdrop of this entire analysis, what becomes important is that both India and Pakistan should show some wisdom, and they should show some restraint before behaving in such a manner with the diplomats of each other. So that is the entire analysis here. That is the entire issue. Now, this idea has to be used in any discussion when you are discussing about the worsening of India-Pakistan relation. From that perspective, you have to bring out this analysis on diplomats also. So that is going to be the relevance. Now coming to the next article, in a plastics world. Now the context here is with regards to the recent findings about microplastic particles in safe bottled water. Now indeed this is an important piece of news. This has major impacts, so the article becomes important. Now coming to the issues. First and foremost, you need to know about the global production of plastic. Some figure is what has been given is that the global production of plastic is more than 300 million ton per year. This is a report by the United Nations Environment Program, and this is one figure which is important. So this production of plastic globally has overwhelmed the governments across the countries in managing this plastic. The capacity of the governments in the entire world is somehow short of managing the production at which plastic is being made. So that is one important analysis here, and it is more so for India because India's capacity is even lower to manage plastic. So as a result of which there is a rise in plastic pollution. So that is something that is important. Another thing is with regards to microplastics. Now what do you understand by microplastic? These are plastic particles which have a size less than 5 millimeter, and they enter the environment either as a primary industrial product, or they are used, for example, they are used in scrubbers and cosmetics, or via urban waste also they are entering the environment, or through the broken down elements of articles discarded by humans, and now they are also being found in the safe bottled water. So that is what microplastics are. They have huge impacts. First and foremost, analyzing the health impacts of microplastics. Now no clear establishment is what has still now been made, but you should know that the WHO has initiated a study on the impact of microplastics on the health of human beings. Another thing is that till now some impacts are somehow seen on the immune system of human beings. So indeed the impacts are adverse, and if some clarity is something that is lacking, then in that case the risk factor further increases. So that is one important analysis here. Another thing which is important is the marine environment. Now here you need to know that approximately 8 million ton of plastic or waste plastic makes its way into the sea each year. There is also one patch which is known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch of plastic debris in the sea, and this is adversely impacting the marine environment. So that is another impact of plastic, and more specifically microplastic, on the marine environment. Also with regards to India, as I have discussed, that for India managing a waste plastic is even bigger a challenge because of poor capability of India, or poor capacity of solid waste management within India. Also there is a behavioral issue in India where citizens are not responsible in discarding their waste. So all of these concerns are much more for India. So that is something that is important. Some suggestions is what has been given. These suggestions are primarily focused on India. The suggestion here is that there is a need to control the production and distribution of plastic within India. What should be done is that there should be a complete ban on single-use plastic packages, and consumers should be made to pay heavily for more durable plastics to ensure that there is a discouragement on the use of plastics. So that is what is needed here. Another thing which is important is with regards to the solid waste management rules of 2016. Now these rules call for segregation of waste, and this is something that is to be implemented from April 2018. So the editorial is making a case that these rules should be strictly implemented, and there is need that the segregation of waste should be done at the domestic level, at the household level, so that it can be effectively managed and treated and prevented from entering the environment in the form of microplastic. So that is something that is important here. Another thing which is important is the European Union Vision of 2030 document. This document talks about a circular plastic economy, and this is one very important suggestion which you should replicate in your answers wherever you have to discuss that what can be the solution to deal with the problem of plastic. Here the solution is that there is a need to change the very nature of plastic, because plastic was largely envisaged as a cheap and a disposable object, or from that perspective a shift is what is needed to be made from plastic being not a cheap and a disposable utility, but rather a durable and a reusable and fully recyclable element. So that is what this document envisages. So this shift is something that needs to be made with regards to the usage of plastic, and that is something that is going to be important here. This issue is indeed going to be important from the environmental perspective in General Studies paper 3. So that is going to be the relevance here. Now coming to the next article. a summit on the hills. Now the context here is that the West Bengal government has held an investment summit in Darjeeling. So some points are what are important. The first issue is with regards to an anti-industry label. Now, you should know that West Bengal is given this title of an anti-industry label. This is primarily because of episodes like Singur and Nandigram. Now, in Singur, you should know that the Tata Nano project was to be set up in Singur, but this had to finally move from West Bengal to Gujarat, primarily because of raised agitation, and the now Chief Minister had gone on a fast unto death to move away this project from Singur. So that was one issue. Also, there was a case in the year 2007, which was the Nandigram violence. What had happened here was that the special economic zone was something that was to be set up in Nandigram, but a lot of people agitated to this, and there was an insurgency which killed many people, and as a result of this Nandigram violence and Singur, West Bengal is now considered as an anti-industry label, and also there's a negative industry sentiment against West Bengal. Now, if you are ever to discuss the impacts of or the anti-industry sentiment which is developing in the country, then you can give the example of West Bengal here. So that is why I have included this particular issue. Another thing which is very important here is the Gorkha Jan Mukti Morcha agitations. Now you should know that this Darjeeling region is calling for it is a separatist movement which is calling for a separate state from West Bengal. So agitations are what are being held in this particular region. Recently, a 104-day shutdown was what was held in this region, and this adversely impacted the economy and tourism of this region. Now, this region has immense potential. It has potential for timber plantation, horticulture, and many other areas. But what is happening is that due to this violence and agitation, this potential is something that is not being reached. Now, the importance of this particular issue becomes that whenever you are discussing Northeast or internal security issues, then in that case, you have to bring about the economic dimension of it, that how sometimes violence and agitation has adverse impacts on the economy. So that is something that is going to be important here. Another thing which is very important with regards to Darjeeling is that this is a region of fragile peace, and this is what is leading to the minimal development in this region. There is an issue of poor infrastructure in this region, despite the fact that 22% of the state's population is something that is living in this region. 24% of the land is something that is there in this region. Despite this region is one that there is poorest form of infrastructure and there is minimal development, despite the fact that Darjeeling tea is an international brand. Despite that, development is not coming to this region. So that is something that has been analyzed in this editorial. These examples are something that are de novo, and that is why these articles become important, because these examples are something that you have to use in your answers or your essays. So that becomes the relevance. Now, based on today's discussion, please try and attempt these questions within a word limit of 150 words. And with this, we finish today's discussion. I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.